Welcome to The Link. I'm Brandon Johnson again with VoigtJohnson Real Estate, and today I am excited to be joined by Anderson Daniels, country music recording artist, and we're just getting to know each other a little bit. But
That's right.
I'm learning you were the Midwest 2019 CMA New Artist of the Year.
You got it.
That's pretty cool. Tell me what goes into that, or how
that was So that was at the 2019 CMA or Midwest CMA Awards down at the Medina Entertainment Center in Medina, Minnesota. And Midwest CMA is just a collective group of artists that are all from the Midwest here, and get nominated through fan voting, fan nominations, and then the board kind of decides the top nominations. And then it's actually a peer voting thing for all the members to come through and vote on who wins those awards. So out of my time through the 2018 year, and then to start the 2019 to get that award was something pretty cool to see that hard work get paid off and recognized by peers and stuff like that. So
then in 2020 you were nominated for Male Artist of the Year.
Correct? Male vocalist and video of the year for my single Heartland, and that was again just a really cool getting that recognition or getting that notoriety from your peers is always something I think special to everybody out there. So
for sure. Let's take a step back and just tell me a little bit. Get to know you. Where are you from originally, or where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Champlin, Minnesota.
Okay.
North of the cities a little bit, and then went to school here in St. Cloud, St. Cloud State. Did 5 years here, and got my degree in business management. Came out of college and just started doing music full time. Kind of in that transitional period of my last 2 years at college at St. Cloud, I was kind of starting to go to classes 3 or 4 days a week, and then go out and play shows like 3 or 4 days a week. So then that transitioned into being able to come out with my degree full time and start doing music right away. So
did you always know? So you were going to school for business.
Yep.
But did you always know, hey, music is where I'm gonna go, or how did that transpire?
I wouldn't say 100%. It was kind of like I had no idea what I wanted to do coming out of high school. I was doing music a little bit. I played sports all growing up, and that was kind of my main focus for a long time. And got into the later years of high school, I started getting into music more and more, but it wasn't quite what it is now, or what we took it to now. But I think in college I really found that passion because I had a little bit more time on my hands and that type of thing to play the guitar more and start writing songs and do all that type of stuff, and that's where it all kind of came together for me. And as I'm doing that side of everything, I'm also learning about business, and I'm kind of like, okay, how can I implement and take some of this stuff that I'm learning about business and put it into what I'm doing with music? So it's kind of a mesh together really well that way. So
Yep. What did you, growing up, obviously music, but you said sports. What did you like to do? Hunting, fishing?
Yeah, I started hunting, fishing kind of when I got into high school. I didn't come really from a hunting family. Fishing, we always fish and stuff, but hunting was something I got together with some friends, and they started taking me out, and then I got super into it, and then the rest is history. But I played football and basketball growing up, and I loved playing sports. We were always outside as kids and playing every kind of sport you could think of in the backyard that we could handle back in the backyard, and just went from there and took that into high school. And then that's kind of when the music bug caught me a little bit. My brother was learning guitar, and he taught me a few things, and he actually moved down to Nashville and did some stuff there, and that's kind of where my passion for music came from and happened. So
Now, a lot of people have the music career aspirations. Tell me, it's got to be, and you mentioned the business side of it.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how do you navigate, because there's so many people that have the talent, right? That just never figure out the direction of combining that business to get your big break or to break through. How have you been able to navigate that path a little bit, or tell me kind of how that works?
No, you're right. There are so many people out there with the talent that could go, anywhere with it if they really want to put their mind to it. And I think that's what it is. It's figuring out, you have to figure out that what's your end game? What's your end goal? And, it depends on if you can see that really clearly, then you kind of, for me, it's always about working back from that and figuring out, okay, well, if I want to get to here, how do I get to that next
Mapping
step?
your
That's
actions
gonna,
to-
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. And I know there's better singers than me. I know there's better songwriters than me, but I also know what I'm really good at, and that's what I put first and foremost into what I'm doing. And I know, there's just a competitive advantage, I think, in every business,
Yep.
and figuring out what that is for you as somebody who wants to do it, like you said, as a career. I think you have to figure some of those things out and kind of see how you take it to the next step and get out of the box that you're currently in and into the next one,
Yep.
and continuing to develop on that. So.
Yep. So what was the first step from going out of college, getting recorded, getting a label? I mean, how did you get that initial first step?
Yeah, so it was, I'd say like 2017 was probably my first year that I was doing this as a serious recording artist. And like I said, my brother had moved to Nashville right out of high school. He went to college there for a few years and then lived there for a few years after that. So I went down and visited him and kind of learned a little bit how the business works. So I was actually sitting at the St. Cloud library one day, and I had a couple like scratch tracks recorded of stuff I was doing in my college dorm room or whatever, and I sent that out to probably 50 or 60 like publishers and people in Nashville, just kind of on a wild hair. And I was just like, we'll see what we get back. And I had like 3 people get back to me, and one of them was for a publishing deal, and so we kind of looked over it and talked a little bit more on what this might lead to, and so I actually signed a publishing deal before I ever had been to Nashville, like on a serious note with music, and that led me into the studio, and we got some songs recorded and cut, and then all of a sudden I was a legit, I guess recording artist, if you will.
That has to be a little rare, right, for someone to get that far down the road that quickly.
I think it can be, and I think that's honestly, if I'm being real, that's how I've always tried to do it, is like try to get further down the road and then backtrack on how do we learn to actually be in this position, or go outside your comfort zone and then learn how to get comfortable where you're going to. So I think that's what it was for me. I just kind of went further than I knew I could, and everything kind of played out from there, I guess, if you will.
Yep.
So
now, do you have and pardon my ignorance, but like a recording label or?
I don't have a label. I'm still doing everything independently on
Okay.
my own. I've got some people that guide me a little bit. Not quite in a management situation yet, but we've been talking with other publishers and managers and just setting up meetings. I go down, like I said, I go down to Nashville about once a month.
Okay.
And we kind of base everything out of there in terms of the writing, recording, releasing music, and then a lot of the touring side I base out of the Midwest here in Minneapolis, and kind of run things out of Minnesota in terms of touring and where we're going to go.
So, but you record everything in Nashville?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yep. So everything's recorded in Nashville. Got some PR people there that we work with and kind of do that whole thing. So
One of my favorite cities, by the way. I love Nashville.
it's another world down
Yeah,
there. Everyone loves it. So
It's crazy. It's a fun town.
Yeah.
And the music, I mean, that's what I mean. You go into the bars there and you hear all the music. You don't hear a bad musician playing when you're on Broadway.
Yep.
You just don't. And so how to break through, because I'm sure it's like an aspiring actor goes to Hollywood to try and you have all these aspiring musicians.
Absolutely.
And you just kind of get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, I think the main thing is tunnel vision in a way. Block out, put the blinders on and block out everybody else around you and focus on what you're doing and what you want to do. And I mean, there's influence in everything. I've got friends in Nashville and I got friends that are other artists, and I'm kind of like, okay, here's how they're doing things, or here's how their music their brand is kind of coming across. Like, what do I like about that? What do I want to implement into my stuff with that? But I think just kind of trying to block all that out, it gets super overwhelming to some people, and you can't, if you really want to do it serious, you have to have the confidence in your own skills, knowing that everyone else or everyone's at a different chapter in their own book. You might be at one point now, but in 5 years from now you're going to be at the same point that somebody you had seen 5 years ago was. So I think it's important for people that are just starting out, or people that might be in their journey now, just to remember that, put the blinders on, have confidence in what you're doing, and focus on your tunnel vision and what you're doing. So,
yeah. How have you used, or you mentioned video shooting, and how have you used media to gain your exposure or your following, especially during the time of COVID where there's no...
Yeah, I think, honestly, I'm super fortunate that I'm in this time, what am I trying to say? This time of history right now where there's so many platforms, so many outlets to reach people. You have control. You do. You have complete control of, building your audience, building your brand, and not having anyone to lean on to do that. And it's really on yourself, and it's a lot of work, but I'm fortunate, especially with COVID going on, to still be able to reach people over Facebook Live or, Instagram Live or just all the social platforms. And I think that anybody that wants to make a career out of music can definitely do it in this day and age. And I had somebody tell me early on, it's not, the music industry isn't quite like the 70s or 80s anymore, where they would find these diamonds in the rough and then they would, bring them and kind of put them on the platform and send them out to the public. It's really, people are looking to invest in artists and musicians that have already kind of done the groundwork and built the fan base and have the streaming numbers or the social media numbers and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm out here doing and trying to use those outlets to, I guess, grow my brand.
Well, and you tell me if this is not true or not, but it seems more the people that are going to make it or break through are going to have, and again, my novice opinion, but in the 80s, early 90s, you might have the music ability and then you have a manager or someone that does that business for you. Now it's the people that break through, can navigate and get your own exposure through social media or whatever to get your following.
Right.
And you don't need someone else determining who they're going to hand pick.
Yep, exactly.
Correct?
Yeah, handpicking would be a great way to put that is it's like we don't really rely on the executives to kind of do that anymore. It's more the executives see, okay, who's doing, who's catching on with people, who's laying the groundwork for what's next, and that's where they're going. That's what they want to see, and that's what it helps a ton too as an independent musician. For somebody like myself, who I don't need to be selling out arenas all over the country. If I got to that point, that'd be amazing.
Sure.
And a lot of luck probably goes to that point.
Yep.
But if I can sell out clubs and stuff like that around the country and tour and make a good living off of it, then that's all I really need. And I think the ability to reach people over social media and streaming platforms, get my music out there, that's really huge for a guy like me.
So prior to this spring and COVID, do you tour pretty much just Midwest or all over the country, or how does that look?
I've been fortunate enough to go all over the country within this year. It's funny, 2 months into the year, and we had, I think, like 12 states down or something like that already. So it was super cool, and we had obviously a bunch more lined up, and some stuff has been getting rescheduled for 2021, or you start looking at down the road, is there a light at the end of this tunnel, and I think there is. But been fortunate enough to be able to go all the way out to California. We toured to Wyoming and the Rocky Mountains a little bit earlier in the wintertime, and we'll plan on getting back to those places. Absolutely. Sure. I think the Midwest is definitely the
core.
The core, the home, the home team, if you will, what I like to call them, and obviously here in Minnesota is the number one. So.
Yep. When you're touring, are you the feature act main show, or are you opening for bigger, WeFest, Winstock, those types of productions, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. I've been fortunate enough to headline some shows. We went out and like I said, we went over to Wyoming and did a run of shows out there where we had openers out there come out and play with us. But I've been very fortunate enough to get on shows with big artists that tour through the Midwest, and then I get on a couple shows with them, and that's some of my favorite stuff to do.
Who have you been able to collaborate with?
Man, we've done, most recent was Chris Jansen. I got to play with him down in Iowa.
Cool.
I've done, a tour with Ronnie Millsap, Cadillac 3, Joe Diffie, a few.
That has to be pretty cool,
names.
right? Do you kind of get the time, off stage to kind of just pick their brain or get to know them? Or?
Yeah, a little bit, or just even see how all that works behind the curtain, I guess, a little bit, if you will. And don't say too much, but it's cool just to see them. And the point that I'm at too, we were doing a festival last year with Joe Diffie, and I remember pulling in there and seeing his big tour bus,
sure,
and all his gear, and then we're pulling in there, in my truck, crappy van or something like that with all our stuff. So it's just fun to see that side of everything too.
Yeah,
so.
But everyone started at the same place you did, right?
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. I remember a story I heard about Trace Atkins. I think Old Dominion back in the day was opening up for Trace Atkins, and they had a rundown van or whatever, and he looks out the window of his tour bus, and he's like, throw him an extra $500 for gas or something like that. Yeah. So, everybody's there at one point.
The country music industry, they kind of take care of each other, though, right, to a certain degree?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a camaraderie within this industry, more so than others, of people who are looking out and good-hearted people, good values, and all the way around.
Yeah. Trying to help you out, give you pointers, advice, how to get to the next level, that sort of thing. Yeah,
there's a certain amount everybody's got to figure out for themselves, right? But it helps to have somebody learn from somebody else's mistakes or how they did it, and I think that's a huge thing to anybody that's really trying to find success at whatever they're doing. Find people who are where you're trying to go, and kind of learn from their mistakes on what they did, and that helps your learning curve a ton.
Shifting gears a little bit, this, obviously this spring has been an adjustment for everyone. How have you adapted, or what kinds of things, obviously the concerts, that in the arenas, bars, whatever, has changed dramatically. How have you, and the music industry in general, kind of planned or adapted for this summer, this fall, or what are you doing to kind of...
Yeah, I mean, with the music industry, there's really two sides of it, and that's, the one side is writing and recording and releasing music, and the other side's touring, and touring has gone out the window, obviously, for many reasons during this time. So, like I said, lucky enough, we're in the day and age where we've got social media, can keep up to date with people. So kind of when this whole thing came about, I'm the type of guy that just has to be productive. I got to be doing something. And when this whole thing came about, I was like, okay, well, there's two things that I can really do right now, and that's write songs and then do live shows on Facebook Live and Instagram Live, and done a couple of TikTok lives too. But it's finding ways to be productive, and I guess that's been the main way. When you take touring out of it, which is a huge thing that I built my career on. Sure. That really stinks to try and continuously build on that, but. Like I said, just fortunate that we're able to still.
How
reach
are the
people.
live, the Instagram, the Facebook lives? How has that been received? Is it gaining? I'm just curious in general.
Yeah.
Are people tuning in to watch those?
Yeah, right away it was insane. The first 2 weeks, I would say, was just super cool. 'Cause, I mean, we all, as weird as this whole period of time has been, we've all gone through it together. Right. And I think that was the big thing, was the camaraderie of everyone kind of tuning in and getting behind what you're doing. And then it was, after a few weeks of doing the same thing, I started trying to get creative. I started doing some Facebook takeovers. I'd go, like I did one with Quick Trip. I took over their Facebook page, which was super cool. To have somebody in my corner like them is awesome. And just try and get out and do it in different places, or, do a few giveaways during, just to figure out some way to keep people engaged. And like I said, the first 2 weeks, it was awesome, really good feedback. And then, it starts to thin out a little bit, but, everybody treats it a little bit different. I've had people who hook up the HDMI cord to their computer, and then they stream it on their big screen TV, sure. And they get together with the family and watch the hour-long live stream or whatever, which is super cool. So it's been quite the adjustments period, but what's cool about that is that, no matter whether you were Garth Brooks or, you know, somebody in my position or whoever, we're all been taken down a notch to the same level playing field of you've got a live stream and you've got your songs, and how do you make that connect with people? So that's what's been cool about this whole time period.
Well,
I guess.
I think what you're alluding to is the opportunity for someone just starting out like yourselves. Everyone's at ground zero, and who can figure out the quickest how to connect or garner that attention. It's a great opportunity if you're able to.
Definitely, yeah. And you take away, I mean, you know, some people have hundreds of thousands of dollars in production, big light show, smoke machines and everything. And you really pull everybody down to the same level with a guitar and a video camera, and it's like, all right, connect with people now. And that's what's been super cool about it, and really, I guess, a telltale sign of who,
in most industries, change creates opportunity. I really believe that.
Correct, yeah.
And those able to have the foresight or the ability and willingness to adapt, and not just complain, things are not the way they used to be.
Right.
And complacency is a part of that, right? But
they think things shut down, and it's not necessarily that the industry's shutting down. It's just change for the moment. You gotta, like you said, take advantage of that. Yep.
You mentioned the collaboration with Quick Trip. That is really cool to me. Or how did that come about? Or did you initiate that, or did they reach out to you? Or?
I did. I know they were doing some stuff with a few other artists or people that I'm aware of and know personally, and so I was like, well, they'll probably like what I'm doing, hopefully. Fingers crossed, and kind of put it out to them, and they jumped right on it. And so then they're like, if you need anything else from us, let us know. So that was it's just cool to see, like I said, kind of going back to the award show, just seeing the recognition from an outside perspective, and seeing those people give you the chance is something super cool and motivating at the same time to keep going on what you're doing.
And so when you took over their Facebook page, what sort of content did you put out there? Like your music at one of their stores, or I'm just curious what type of content?
I did a live stream with them.
Okay.
And then we did a few giveaways. River Brothers was a part of that, and did some giveaways with Quick Trip gift cards and stuff like that. And I just took over their Facebook page for an hour and a half or something like that, and did a live virtual show and had a bunch of people tune in and stuff, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, see, I think that's the biggest opportunity to cross-reference different audiences, right? And to gain exposure I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of that as different genres of companies, have influencers. I just think it's an untapped potential opportunity to do.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, nobody does it on their own, and it takes a team to get things done a lot of times, especially to that scale, and it's always good to have people in your corner. So. And
I'm just curious, what does Quick Trip, because they've been very progressive. I mean, they had a lot of Snapchat ads from the very beginning, and I've seen them, do they have a media team, like a social media younger kind of staff?
Yep, they got, I'm 25, I'm pretty sure the same age person was who I was talking with, and being on the same page about that, the takeover and everything. And they live and breathe Midwestern. That's where they're based. That's who they
La Crosse, isn't it? Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think somewhere, Wisconsin, and obviously all around Minnesota and Iowa now, and that's where my core brand is as well, in terms of fan base, touring, who I write music for. That's who it is. So it's just a good collaboration, and kind of I knew that would probably fit what they're doing, and it definitely fits what I'm doing. So it was a good mix.
Cool. So what's next for you now? What are you kind of focused on for the next 6 to 12 months? What's kind of on your plate?
That's kind of the funny thing is normally that's where I'm looking at. We're booking tours, or we're booking, obviously the summer schedule is huge for country music, and with that all kind of out the window, it's little stuff's popping up here and there, just cool little opportunities. But I'd say in the next year, I've just finished up some new music in the studio, and so that's really where the main focus is right now. We've got a single that I'll be releasing here in a few weeks called Town Like This, and and I'm super excited about that. It's been 2 years since I've released any music,
Yeah.
and I couldn't be more excited to get back on that train and get back in that arena and start doing that.
So how often, you said you go to Nashville once a month or so, do you
Yep.
do you kind of, will you be there more recording kind of the new?
So I would say right now not as much, because usually I go down there and we'll do a show down there. I'll do some writing. Might have a meeting or two lined up, and right now with everything still kind of, it's such a weird time with stuff opening back up now. It's kind of that awkward,
Well, I've just heard recently that COVID in Nashville is starting to kind of spike. And
yeah, I think a lot of people jumped right back out
Yeah.
in there, and now we'll see what happens with everything. But in terms of me being down there more, probably not. I would say probably a little bit less almost with everything going on. But we've got the new music finished up, and now it's kind of taking those first steps to get the marketing for it all done, and you get that plan developed and everything, which is what a lot of people don't see. That side of the business is like, you it takes a lot. You get this expensive piece of artwork to get ready to release and put out, and you got to have a plan to do that right.
It's more than just sitting down with a guitar and a microphone.
Right.
That's part of it, but
Exactly.
It's not all of it, right?
Yep, exactly. So, I mean, you get one chance to release a song, and you want to do it right. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of what's next in the next 6 to 12 months. It's going to be a lot of planning out release and social media marketing strategies, all that type of stuff. So
Yeah. Well, cool. How do people, what's your website, Instagram handle? How do people, if they want to follow you that aren't familiar with you, get in touch with you?
Absolutely. I'd say Instagram's the number one where you can keep up with most of what I'm doing. That's at Anderson Daniels Official. I'm on Facebook, Anderson Daniels. You can find my page there. That's a lot of my content comes as well. And then AndersonDanielsMusic.com is my website. It's got all my dates on there, and obviously we're figuring some of the touring aspect of things out right now. But yeah, you can go on there, sign up for the mailing list. You'll get updated right away with everything, and that's where I'm living online, if you will.
Yep. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Anderson Daniels,
Thanks for having me.
2019 Midwest CMA New Artist of the Year. Correct? Can I say that?
Yeah, you
That's
nailed it.
That's awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
And we'll be in touch.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep.